There's a hidden kindness in the zero tolerance approach, Tom Homan, to ICE and to immigration enforcement. And I don't think we can skip past the fact that it's sometimes difficult to watch families being separated. It is. And if we can't identify with that watching your father be taken away by cops and being sent back to a country maybe you've never been to, and the idea that you might have to go live there, or if you were a so-called dreamer, allowed to live in our country, it's from the time you were 4 years old and you're taken up by ICE and you're going to be sent to a country you don't remember or understand. Maybe you're not even great at the language. It would be terrifying. And we are not human and we're not Christians if we don't recognize this. We're also not Christians if we don't recognize the fact that when people lord their power over others in one direction, as the people who ran Joe Biden did, they were lording their power over others, a power to ignore the law, to break the law, to flood our country with illegal immigrants, the purposes of which were many. Part of it was walking around money for big city politicians, county commissioners, and mayors. Another part of it was shifting the electoral college. Some of it is about profit making for companies and corporations, such as banks handing out debit cards. A lot of it has to do with low-income housing and that swindle. There's a whole lots of ways that people have figured out how to monetize people's misery. When government officials use their power and lord it over others to do these things, there's going to be a turnaround. And at some point, the shift is going to come, and the shift came in the personage of Donald Trump. Now, it happens that President Trump has this annoying thing of having the law on his side. Illegal immigration is illegal. Enforcing the law is the law. Otherwise, laws are just suggestions. And yes, we have Romans 13. We're to obey the authorities, so are the visitors to our country to obey the authorities. And still, it's difficult. We can relate to the idea of forgiving people. We have to forgive. People broke the law and entered our country. Guess what? We as Christians have to forgive them, and you can still enforce the law. You can forgive someone as you put them in a jail cell. If someone's committed a particularly heinous crime, unaliving a bunch of people, you can forgive them as you put them in to the chamber where their lives are going to end. We can do all these things at once. Forgiving doesn't mean letting people get away with it. But there is that image of a father being dragged away as his kids and his wife cries that is easy for people to merchandise into being cruelty. Then there's the hidden portions of illegal immigration and the hidden ways that this conveys great, great compassion, kindness hidden in the zero tolerance approach. This woman contends to be the person or one of the people who reported Hyundai to ICE. You remember this Hyundai location that the people who ran Joe Biden arranged? It was a big promise of a big investment in America and American labor. Well, that's interesting because there was just an arrest and a whole bunch of illegal immigrants taken out of that facility all on one single day. Listen to this lady.
452 illegals apprehended at the Hyundai mega plant construction site yesterday near Savannah. And I was the one that reported the information that I had to ICE. But it goes beyond just someone working illegally. Let me explain to you. These people are working for slave wages. Some are not getting paid. Some are being trafficked. They send money home to their country. They give money to their handler. They have hardly anything left. They live in homes 5 families deep, have no quality of life. It's modern day slavery. So if you think that ICE is just going in and ripping people out of their jobs, these hardworking people that want a better life, well, guess what? Politicians have really screwed these people because when they came here, they thought they were, hey, the border's open, we're coming in, we're going to get the 5-star treatment, and we can go to the big Walmart, and we can live in a 5-star hotel, and that's just not how it is. It's very bad conditions, very inhumane, and the Biden administration started a humanitarian crisis. So y'all can't just look at it like they're ripping good people off the job. They're probably saving their lives in the long run.
There's a hidden kindness of zero tolerance, and there's that Hebrew statement, if you are lenient when you should be firm, eventually you will be cruel when you should be kind, or you will appear to be cruel. And certainly a 4-year-old kid who's watched mom or dad be taken out of the country against their will, a country they thought they lived in, is going to see that as cruel. We have to admit this. We also have to admit that it is cruel to our country to allow lawbreakers, and I'm talking about the people at the high levels who ran Joe Biden, to destroy our electoral college system because they want to, because they want more power. That's cruel as well. And there's a hidden kindness in the zero tolerance approach in this way. People who watch this go on are not going to come to this country. They're not going to make the dangerous trek across the border. They're not going to get trafficked by coyotes because they're seeing, hey, you don't even get to stay. It doesn't matter how long you were there. You don't even get to stay. It doesn't matter if you've been there 16 years. If you were bought when you were 3, it's a cruel policy. If you choose to see it that way. And then there's the law. And law is this: you don't get to come into our country illegally. There's a much more overt nature of the kindness here, and it has to go to, or goes to the bottom line of what Joe Biden was and is. Joe Biden was and is a walking, breathing, talking lie. He's a walking, talking, breathing lie, grift-taking, bribe-taking man who's willing to do whatever it takes to continue to get money, and the only way he's been able to do it, and he's gotten it to the tune of $50 or $60 million, never having created a product or provided a service. And there's a hidden kindness that the Mockingbirds aren't going to tell us about. Well, Fox will. It has to do with some of the kids that had gone missing in this country. At one point, the count was 300,000. I'll give you an update here in a second on what Tom Homan said they found in terms of some of these kids that they've located. It's a pretty big number. Numbers matter when you're building up for retirement. For instance, how much money will you have every month for the rest of your life? That's what my friend Zach Abraham sets out to create for people in retirement. That is how he defines a successful retirement. But you're living in a world where there's a new digital coin that pops up like every single day. Sometimes it's named after famous people, the Trump coin. Sometimes it's named after companies like Apple. You've got the X coin. Every time these things pop up, it adds uncertainty to our economy. Or this, you have AIs entering industries we never thought they'd enter. What's going to happen when AIs come in and start, being lawyers? What's that going to do to the economy? AI accountants. What happens when AI firms lobby the government to allow you to have an AI accountant or an AI lawyer, but just for simple things? What's that going to do to the economy? AI college professors, etc. Yes, of course, AI truck drivers. You're living at a time where it's getting very, very confusing. So is it time to get back to basics? Maybe that's the way forward. My friend Zach Abraham thinks so. He's putting on a free live webinar coming up October 2nd at 3:30 Pacific. That's October 2nd at 3:30 Pacific. He's going to talk about the Back to Basics webinar, the fundamentals of value investing, why it's working for them, why they've had such a great year, and he'll give a perspective on his outlook for the remainder of 2025. And he'll talk about Bulwark's approach of risk management by actively managing every portfolio, which can reduce risk and volatility. This is free, but you have to register to attend. So go to knowyourriskpodcast.com. That's knowyourriskpodcast.com. Investment advisory services offered through Truck Financial LLC and SEC registered investment advisor. Investments involve risk and are not guaranteed. Past performance doesn't guarantee future results. Truck 25-298. Tom Homan gave an update, a hidden kindness in the zero tolerance approach to immigration.
More than 22,000 unaccompanied children have been found so far under this Trump administration. 27 of the minors were found dead, either or by car accidents or drug overdoses, and more than 400 sponsors have been arrested.
We're talking about debt bondage, where children are being made to work off debt, trafficking debt. We're talking about children that were brought into situations and then treated like sexual slaves.
So Tom Homan set his team out to go do interviews like that after he sent the statements and the update on the numbers. That's a hidden kindness. See, the gold rush that happens when the borders opened, the coyotes and the cartels, they're business people. That's what they'd tell you. It's a particularly violent business because it's gang operated, it's thuggery, but they're business people. They knew that eventually there'd be a change in policy and the United States would crack down, but they've made their money. And they've sent these kids in here, and these kids now have an opportunity to be reunited with their family because in most cases, it wasn't with their families. They were being abused in the worst possible ways. It's important for us, if we ever want to be able to communicate with loved ones or friends who are liberal, that remember that there's two things they look for: kindness and fairness. It is fair to support the laws equally, and it is kind to make sure that people in our country who are here illegally are not being treated the way these kids were, it's also kind to ourselves to make sure our elections are not monkeyed with.